going on, everybody? Oops, I gotta put my mic up here. Cool. All right, what's going on? I'm gonna actually set my mic up here instead of putting it on there, so I think it'll actually come out better because I'm projecting at it. But if you have issues with audio hearing me, let me know, and I'll fix that. Anyway, so today's live session, let me pull this up, shut this off over here. And all right, fixing that. So, all right. So the last time we did a Thursday live session, we talked about using the annual training plan in TrainingPeaks. And so this is going to be an extension off of that. So once you've put together your annual training plan in TrainingPeaks, then you start building workouts to fit that annual training plan. And so today we're going to talk about, and I'm going to show you in my TrainingPeaks account how I build my workouts out. And it's more so about showing you how to actually build the actual structured workouts and see how the TSS adds up on each workout, and then laying those into the calendar to try to work around your events. I don't know how much of it we'll get through today. I suspect these lives will kind of go on on this topic for a few weeks here. So, but it's been a while. If after this and you need to go back to the annual training plan, the replay of the live is out there on the YouTube channel. So, all right, so we'll get started. Let me switch screens and grab a drink of water, and we'll get into it. So, let's see. Switch over to here. So, this is my calendar right now, and I guess I'll pull up my annual training plan right now. I only have one event on there right now. It's the dam, and you can kind of see how that builds out. And we added various events and that type of thing in the last one, and then over the Christmas and New Year's break, I kind of cleaned mine up and went back. There's some other stuff I want to do, but just a personal note, I'm actually barely been riding a bike here lately because I messed up my quad muscle, and so I'm waiting for that to kind of heal up. So I hope this actually kind of happens. But I'll show you how to build some workouts. So you kind of look at that. That's the annual training plan. A really quick look. This is your performance training chart. You can see how terrible mine personally looks right now because of the lack of riding, and all these rides are pretty short, 20, 30 minutes, an hour tops. And we're going to build an annual training plan out, and you will, you're going to build those workouts out, and it's going to come back and reference this at some point. You're going to use that to try to make sure you're not overcooking yourself from week to week and during your training blocks. So now we'll go over to the calendar. Mine's pretty blank, and you can see, right, it's pretty sporadic what's going on there. So to build workouts, you can do this in two ways. So you can just click on your calendar and hit the plus is a way, and then pick a workout. If you want to build your own workout library, you can click over on the left, workout library. You can see a whole bunch of little libraries and folders I've personally created over the years with different workouts in them, trying to split things out and build stuff up, that type of thing. And I personally like playing around with this stuff, and it's kind of fun. So, like, you know, if somebody might be playing a video game and there's something at 9 o'clock at night, if I've got a few minutes, I like to mess around with this stuff and play around. So the other way you can build a workout is just hit the plus. And if you want, let's start with a new folder, and we'll call this YouTube Live. And so I'm kind of just going to build this stuff on the fly with y'all. So, and then if I come back to here, click on that one, I can create a workout within it. And I'll show you two things, and we're just going to call this, let's call it a Zone 2 free ride. And kind of have some of these in my past calendar, and I'll show you why I do this. And just pick bike. And so now we're into this workout. And I'm going to show you how to create it off your calendar as another way, because it actually gives you some power numbers as you're building it. It kind of keeps you mentally in tune with that. So, but there's the workout builder. There's our deal. So I personally, and this is, you do this how you want to do it. I don't do zone 2 erg workouts. If I do a zone 2 ride on a trainer or ride, I'm just pre-putting it on my calendar for planning so I can see how the TSS is going to, like, estimated stack up. But at the same time, I just want a free ride. And I leave my structured workouts for stuff that's specific, and this is me personally, to sweet spots and tempos and VO2 max workouts and stuff like that. So, but to start building your workout, we're going to do something really basic. So when you click on, let's go back to that, you get to pick by duration or distance. I personally always do them by duration. And then this is how you're going to choose the efforts and how that workout's going to get built. Percent of FTP, percent max heart rate, percent threshold heart rate. If you don't have a power meter, you're going to probably build them out that way. Percent threshold speed. There's potentially some, if you're still using an old fluid trainer, so if I go back like 10 years ago, before I had a power meter and just had a fluid trainer and using a heart rate strap, over time I had, just from having all the data, I had mapped each gear on my cassette cluster to one of my training zones. And if you do some deep diving on the internet, you can find a power curve for all those fluid trainers. And you've got a tire and that type of thing and tire pressure, so it's not going to be exact, but you can see a rough power curve of what the design intent was. And then if you have some history of doing some longer intervals or longer efforts with a heart rate monitor, you could potentially map your gear cluster, which would give you a speed on your trainer. It's the only place I think I could potentially see that. And then rating of perceived exertion. So if you don't have a power meter, that would probably be your other option outside of heart rate as well, especially if it's a shorter interval, because there's always the heart rate lag. But I'm going to go by functional threshold power. There's two ways to do this. So you can do this by range or target. If I'm just building out these zone 2 threshold rides or zone 2 free rides to kind of just build out my calendar just to see how the TSS stacks up over time, and at what point do I want to go from 1 hour rides to an hour 20 to 140 to building up to 3-hour rides, I just use a range, and I'll show you what that looks like. But if I'm doing anything that's very specific and I'm going to run my trainer in erg mode, then I set them up as targets. And you can do that however you want. It's just a preference. So if you do a range, and let's just realistically, I'm just going to put an active workout in there. And now you can see that I've dragged this active block into here, and you can see it's got 70 to 80% FTP. Now there's some of those zone 2 rides, and this is going more back into the science of it. I'm not going to dive a lot into that. I just want to talk about how to actually build this workout in there. So you might say, well, I don't want all my zone 2 rides to be up at the top of my zone 2, and you might set up a couple different ones of these. And so you might say, oh, my zone 2 range rides are, 65 to 75%. And that's what this looks like if you build your workouts out of the workout library and not on your calendar. And so I wanted to show this that way, because there's some data that's missing here. And if you're not building these for, like if you're a coach, you're probably not on listening to me right now anyway. So you're likely doing this for yourself. And so there's some missing data that you probably want to see when you're building your workouts. That's assuming you're using a power meter. But anyway, and I will come over here then, and you can do a warm-up like that. That's not really like how I like to do my warm-ups, but we'll do the warm-ups when we build a VO2 max workout. We'll do that in a few minutes. And if you're on here listening and you have a question or comment or something you want me to specifically answer or focus on with this, just type it into the comments and we'll jump to that and cover it. So I plan to kind of run these till about 10:45 and we'll work from there. So cool. Looks like we got some deliveries. And all right, so I'm going to cancel out of this, and then I'm going to show you how to do this off of your calendar. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hit save and close, and then I'm going to show you what happens when you have these in your workout library. So you've got a bunch of workouts. If you build them off of your calendar, you can take this then and drag it to your calendar. I'm going to actually drag this to here. This is probably what my workout is going to need to be Monday, because I'm taking a whole week off, trying to see if I can get my quad to recover. And then Monday, I'm going to go in and do a workout. So here's the other piece of data that's missing. So when you do a range, when you pick this percent FTP, and as long as you have your FTP loaded into your details, it's some stuff we can cover later, it'll give estimated power numbers here and actually tell you what zone you're in, right? So it's telling me zone 2, and it actually has your power zones listed in this drop-down menu. So you can actually go in here and just say if you wanted to build a workout based off of a tempo, a zone 3 workout in a range, it'll drop that in there. If you want to average, ride in a range of your threshold, you can do that. But so that's the full zone 2, 56 to 76% of FTP. I kind of want to dial that into a little better target and ride in there. So that's how that works. So that's how I'll set that up. And then time, I'm just going to say Monday, I'm probably going to just test things out and spin for 40 minutes. And my Monday one is I'm going to actually probably spin more like 50 to 60% of FTP, just to kind of see how my quad muscle is feeling and how things are working out, and then shut it down and see how things figure out the next day. So anyway, so I got my workout for next Monday. And then I'm going to, let's build one on here now that is a VO2 max workout. So this can get a bit more complicated. So actually, let's start with a sweet spot. And I like to do things kind of like, let's just 6, so that's basically 6 reps, or 6 sets, 6 by 6 minutes at, you can do this how you want. I like to put the percentage in here that I might target in my sweet spot workout, because then when I go back and look at my calendar, I kind of know exactly how it is. And then if you use Strava or something like that, or if you're going to do this as an erg workout in Zwift or something like that, then it automatically goes in your title and you can kind of know what that was. The only thing you can kind of get yourself messed up on is if you do this and then you go and build your workout and use different numbers, you just got to keep track of that. So, but anyway, duration, I'm going to use threshold power, and now I'm going to go with a target. Continue. So the first thing I typically like to do is actually just go in and build my the core of the workout, and I have that. So I dragged, it's called two-step repeats, and you basically have hard and easy. You got to, those are your work intervals. And then you can go down here and 6 minutes is the default that goes in there. 90% FTP if you're going to do these at, say, 92. put that number in there, and it tells you what wattage you're going to be targeting. And then your easies is 3 minutes, and I don't know, on those, if you want to change those to 2.5s, you can, right? Like you have a lot of things you can do. Change that to 1.5 your recoveries. This is just something I like to do. It kind of depends on the workout, but if my main work is to do these sweet spots, I kind of tend to set my rest periods at 40% FTP. That's just me. It kind of depends on the workout that I'm doing, and because I want to make sure I get through all of my work. There's some arguments out there. I've seen both ways, where not going too easy and mimicking race efforts and that type of thing. But the goal of my workout is to spend time at 92%, just under threshold for this one. And then you can see this cool down at the end. You can set a cool down for however much you want to do. Maybe you go in here then and change your cool down to, maybe you're going to cool down at 50%. You can choose, and the erg picks the power back up. If you're doing this in, say, Zwift or something like that, you can flip your erg mode off when you're done here and just kind of spin around for 10 minutes. I kind of like to do that as well. So then there's the warm-up. You got two ways to do it. So you could go in and drop in a warm-up in here. And again, if you join and you have any specific questions or topics that you want to cover in this, just type it in the comments and we'll jump to it. If we don't get to it here, then we'll make sure we cover it in the next Thursdays. So Mondays, just to kind of ground ourselves, Mondays is going to be shop, business, bike shop, top related stuff. I think we were talking Monday about how we choose our bike models and that type of stuff. I think our delivery that just showed up is probably some stuff we'll talk about next Monday. I think we just had some new bikes from Bianchi show up. And then Thursdays is going to be stuff like this. So maybe not all training. Some of it might go into bike service stuff, but more kind of like techie stuff. So anyway, I don't like to use this warm-up feature here. So I actually really like to use kind of the same warm-up for a lot of stuff. And I'll go back and kind of show you a warm-up, but I'll show you how to create it. I like to do kind of a ramp up. And so I will pick this ramp up, and it's pretty cool because you can go into that and pick how many steps it is. So what I like to do is start off with 2, and I'll pick like 2 minutes for each ramp up. And let's see where we're at here. And your ramp up has, we're going to get up to 80%. And if I change my ramp up to, say, 5 steps, it kind of splits them out here. And I think something's actually kind of missing here with how this is ramping up. Interesting. So normally when I drag this in, something must be a little kind of goofy with this right now. So this is the fun part of live. Here we go. They were in there. I was missing that part. I got 4 steps. They're split out by 3 minutes. If I take that down to 2, then I only have to change that number. I'm going to change that to 2 minutes. Anyway, and let's just say I want to finish at 10 minutes and they kind of ramp up. The reason I'll go down to 2 is I want to set my beginning effort that I'm going to start warming up at, say 40%, and then I want to finish here, let's just call it 75% at the last 2 minutes. And then when I go here and change it to 5, there we go. I've got a 10-minute warm up that starts at 40% FTP and it goes up to 75% over 10 minutes. And the reason I knock it down to 2 is because I can change the beginning power and the end power and then change it to 5 steps, and TrainingPeaks automatically puts in the ramp up between. The next thing, and I tend to do this, I like to model my warm-ups kind of after like an FTP warm-up. So then you can also, if you want, drop this warm-up in there, and let's see, we are here, it'll go down to there. I'm going to do this for like 2 minutes, and you'll see why here in a minute. We're still at 75%, and then I'll do another, and these are going to be some cadence ramp-ups. I'll show you this. These are going to be basically like 30 seconds. Actually, not even that. Maybe like 20 seconds. Little cadence spin-ups, and I'm not going to actually go 90% FTP. These are just supposed to be very light. Probably going to keep it at that same 75% effort. These will be, I put the 20 in the wrong spot. You can see that. It's 0, so 20 seconds. And these are going to be, call those 40 seconds. And just super light. And you can add cadence range in here. So let's call these, we're going to ramp up, right? So let's just call it 110. That's too much. To 120. Pick what you want to do. So when you're in the, that definitely got typed in wrong. I'm not on a good roll here today. So, okay. So you can see you kind of have some cadence spin-ups in there. Loosen the legs up. Depends on what kind of workout is going to be. And then a little break. And then it depends on kind of what workout you want to do, but kind of opening the legs up. It depends. This is on you. I mean, you're going to build your workouts. I'm showing you how to build the workout, not what workouts to build, but how to basically, I'm walking through examples so you know how to use the structure of this program. So, and this comes up because people ask us in the shop about it. And that's why I thought this was a good topic to cover. I will do something like 2 minutes or something here. And if I'm doing a sweet spot workout or something, I might, and you'll see a lot of this in, say, like Andy Coggins' books and that type of thing, like a little hard effort in there. And maybe that's, I keep putting these numbers in the wrong spots. Sorry about that. There. 2 minutes. And that's just kind of like cracking my legs open before I hit the first interval. And, but not long enough to really, you know, do any damage or anything like that, right? Just getting the legs and the lungs working and that type of thing. And then I will put in just a little recovery, settle down, I'm warmed up, and then dive into my workout. And then you can kind of set that to where it's at. But that's a pretty basic way to set the workouts out. So it's 10:40. We've been on it for about 25 minutes. I'll probably, if there's no comments or questions in the chat, I'll probably shut it down, but I'm going to show you where to save this. And it's on my calendar there. So we created one workout over here. Hopefully you can see the pointer in the workout library. And then we created this next one on the actual calendar. Now I'm not going to do that workout next Wednesday because I'll probably blow my quad up with the recovery issue I've got going on here. But so now if you've created one on your calendar, I like it because you get the power numbers and it gives you some extra visual. If you want to put it in a workout library, you can just drag it over to there, and now it adds it to this workout library. And if you click on it, you can get a preview of what your workouts look like in your workout library. And if you wanted to copy that, so if you come up with a warm-up that you're really comfortable with, and that's what you like to do, then put those at the beginning of your workouts, and you can come over here and duplicate that workout. Let's call it something else, right? Let's call it a VO2 max, and let's just say you're gonna do, 5 by 3 minutes or something like that, and let's call it a 108% or something, right? Just using some numbers to get started. Maybe it's 110, it's 112, whatever you're going to do. So depends on kind of how much VO2 max work you've done at the time. Duplicate it. So then I can go in here and open that workout up and hit edit. And now I can edit this workout. And now all I have to do is go to this section. And if you click on the block up here, it'll take you to that section down here. And now all I got to do, I already have a warm up in. I'm going to change that to 3 minutes, and then, right, we labeled it 108, so I'll make sure the number matches. And then pick your recovery period in there, whatever that's going to be. So, and now you have a VO2 max workout. You might go back to your warm up and change those numbers a little bit. Maybe you want to change your 2-minute effort to, 105 for 2 minutes, just to kind of crack things open and prep you for the first interval. You work that out with whatever your training is and whatever you're trying to follow. Point is, I'm trying to show you how you have options to adjust, build these workouts out, and that type of thing. So I'm going to save and close that. And you can see, like, I've created some blanket warm-ups of my own in my system, and so that I can actually just take that, duplicate it, and then build a workout off of it, and I don't have to recreate my warm-up every time. A variety of ways to do that. So anyway, if you're watching the replay on this, or if you followed along live, there's some people on there still live. Awesome, thanks a lot. If you have questions and you didn't want to ask them here, shoot the shop an email. Leave some comments in the live replay. This will post on YouTube. Should be right away. Sometimes it takes YouTube a little while to turn it all into high def, though. So if you are watching it, just keep that in mind. I think the Mondays one literally took till the next day until it got put into high def. So if you catch the replay right away, it just might not be as clear. So anyway, any other questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks for following along. If you have topics you want us to cover on these lives in the future, leave them in the comments. Shoot the shop a message. Love it if you do it in the comments. It obviously helps the algorithm, but if you don't want to and you're kind of incognito on the web, just shoot us an email and we'll try to include those in our topics. And just for a review, if you haven't heard this yet, Mondays we're going to do a lot of like bike shop business, like why we make certain decisions in the shop, whether it's product related, how we manage service, stuff like that. And then Thursdays is going to be more kind of techie stuff, kicking it off with some of this TrainingPeaks stuff. We did this before Christmas, and just kind of like moving on from that. And after we're done with some of the training stuff, maybe that turns into some techie nutrition stuff. Maybe it turns into some techie service stuff and that type of thing. So whatever seems to be the hot topic, those are the things we're going to try to cover in these live sessions and live feeds. So anyway, I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Thanks for tuning in. If we don't see you in the shop this weekend, the rest of this week, have a great weekend.